June 22nd, 2025. 2:10 a.m. Tehran time. In the absolute darkness high above the skies of Iran, a nation fast asleep, 7 steel ghosts are hurtling downward at 1,000 kilometers per hour. No radar detects them, no surface-to-air missile fires. Not a single Iranian fighter dares to take off. And then, from 12,000 meters up, they are released. Each one weighs 13,600 kilograms, the same as 2 heavy-duty trucks. Each carries more than 2,400 kilograms of the world's most advanced high explosive. And each is engineered to do something no non-nuclear weapon has ever done before: penetrate straight through a mountain. This is not an ordinary airstrike. This is Operation Midnight Hammer, and it has just permanently redrawn the geopolitical map of the Middle East. To understand why that midnight hammer fell, we need to rewind the clock. Not years, but just 9 days. June 12th, 2025. Israel launches a series of preemptive strikes against Iran, hitting military targets including the nuclear program. A multi-day conflict erupts. Over those 9 days of war, Israel devastates Natanz, Iran's largest uranium enrichment facility. Severe damage includes the destruction of the majority of centrifuges at Natanz, significant harm to the underground Fordow complex, and the obliteration of multiple sites at the Isfahan nuclear complex. But there is one target Israel cannot touch. Not because they don't want to, but because, physically, no weapon in Israel's arsenal is powerful enough to do it. That target is Fordow, Iran's most secret and most fortified nuclear fortress. Fordow is buried 80 to 110 meters underground near the city of Guam and was built to withstand aerial attack. 90 meters. Let that number sink in. Its underground structure, buried 80 to 90 meters beneath the surface, makes it almost immune to airstrikes, even from Israel's most advanced bunker-busting bombs. And inside it, what was Iran doing? According to U.S. Central Command General Michael Kurilla, Iran had already stockpiled more than 400 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%. With its existing reserves and centrifuges across multiple enrichment sites, Iran could produce the first 25 kilograms of weapons-grade material in roughly 1 week, enough to build up to 10 nuclear weapons in 3 weeks. 1 week. 10 nuclear bombs in 3 weeks. And Iran was hiding that potential arsenal behind 90 meters of solid mountain rock. The IAEA reported that Iran had violated its obligations under the 2019 agreement by concealing nuclear material development, and the IAEA voted to condemn Iran on June 12th. In response to the IAEA's condemnation, Iran announced it would build a new uranium enrichment facility at an undisclosed location. This was no longer a diplomatic crisis. This was a life-or-death race for the world's democracies against a very real nuclear threat. What did the United States use to punch through that underground fortress? This is the GBU-57 A/B Massive Ordnance Penetrator. The Massive Ordnance Penetrator. And when you look at its specifications, you will understand why no other nation on Earth could have carried out a campaign like the one that happened on the night of June 22nd. The GBU-57 A/B Massive Ordnance Penetrator is a precision-guided, deep-penetrating bomb developed by Boeing for the U.S. Air Force. Designed to neutralize hardened, deeply buried enemy targets, it is the most powerful non-nuclear weapon in the United States military arsenal. The bomb is approximately 6.2 meters long, 0.8 meters in diameter, and weighs 13,600 kilograms at release. 13,600 kilograms. For comparison, that is the weight of a fully loaded Russian T-72 tank. The warhead used in the GBU-57 MOP series is the BLU-127 family, employing enhanced explosives such as AFX-757 and PBXN-114. These compounds were chosen for their high energy output and thermal stability, ensuring reliable detonation even after high-speed penetration through concrete or geological layers. The total explosive mass exceeds 5,300 pounds, delivering more than 10 times the destructive power of its predecessor, the BLU-109. But raw power is not what makes the MOP unique. What makes it the one-of-a-kind weapon on the planet is its brain. The GBU-57 MOP uses a dual guidance system combining GPS with Inertial Navigation System, INS, to hit targets with extreme precision. Newer versions incorporate smart fusing that detects structural voids during penetration and times the detonation for maximum internal destruction. This adaptive fuse dramatically increases lethality against complex underground facilities. Put simply, the bomb knows what it is burrowing through. It waits, and when it reaches the right spot, it detonates. The MOP is believed capable of penetrating at least 200 feet, about 61 meters. If one MOP is not enough to reach the target, additional MOPs can be dropped to drive even deeper underground. If a weapon cannot penetrate far enough, another weapon must be dropped precisely into the same hole drilled by the first, then continue drilling deeper and explode. This is called sequential penetration. And this is exactly what happened at Fordow that night. But one crucial question remains. Who could even deliver this gigantic bomb to Iran? The GBU-57A/B is deployed exclusively from the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, the only aircraft that can carry two of them inside its internal weapons bay. The bomb's integration with this platform allows strategic strikes against high-value, deeply buried targets with minimal radar exposure. Because of the GBU-57's size, it must be dropped from the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, a platform possessed only by the United States. Israel has no heavy bombers capable of carrying this weapon. This is the single most important thing to understand about the night of June 22nd. No other nation, not Russia, not China, not Israel, not Britain, not France, had the capability to do what the United States just did. This is a unique strategic capability on the planet. Follow Operation Midnight Hammer minute by minute, because this was not just an attack. This was the culmination of 15 years of preparation. According to Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane, two unidentified officers from the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, DTRA, had studied the Fordow nuclear site for roughly 15 years. Their work contributed to the development of a special bunker-busting bomb created to penetrate fortifications like Fordow. Computer models, simulations, and hundreds of tests were conducted during the weapon's development. According to General Kane, those two DTRA officers had literally dreamed about this target in their sleep and had tracked every vent, every exhaust, every power line, every environmental control system, every nook, every cranny, every piece of equipment going in and every piece of equipment coming out of Fordow since 2009. 15 years. Two DTRA intelligence officers had monitored every construction project, every supply truck, every tiny change at that mountain since 2009. They knew Fordow better than the Iranian engineers who built it. 7 B-2 bombers from the 509th Bomb Wing departed Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri and flew eastward continuously for 18 hours with minimal communication and 3 aerial refuelings. The group of 7 B-2s flew across the Atlantic, through the Mediterranean, into the Middle East, supported by a team of KC-135 and KC-46A Pegasus tankers pre-positioned for the round-trip long-range mission. 18 hours of continuous flight, 3 mid-air refuelings, no unnecessary radio transmissions. This was the longest B-2 mission since 2001, when the United States began Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. The B-2s were led into Iranian airspace by U.S. 4th and 5th generation fighters to draw out ground defenses. According to President Trump, those were F-35 and F-22 stealth fighters. No Iranian defensive fire was detected, credited to Israel's prior strikes on Iran's air defense systems beginning June 13th. General Kane stated that Iran was caught completely off guard. He reported no shots fired at U.S. fighters as they entered and exited the area. Tehran's combat forces did not get airborne, and their surface-to-air missile systems did not detect us. At 6:40 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 2:10 IRST, 6 B-2s began releasing 12 GBU-57 A/B MOPs onto the Fordow facility, while the 7th B-2 dropped 2 MOPs onto Natanz. At Fordow, the 12 bunker busters were released sequentially into 2 ventilation shafts to drive deep into the mountain. Maxar satellite imagery shows multiple large holes or craters at Fordow, the once impregnable underground nuclear fortress. It is also covered in dirt and dust clouds. 12 bombs, 2 ventilation shafts, and what Iran had spent 20 years building, in those few moments, faced a level of destruction never before seen in the history of non-nuclear weapons. At the same time, Tomahawk missiles from the ocean depths, the B-2s were not alone that night. While the 7 steel ghosts were racing toward Iran in the sky, beneath the waters of the Arabian Sea, something else was waiting, silent, invisible, and lethal. A U.S. Navy submarine had launched more than 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles at Iran, striking nuclear infrastructure at Isfahan. Around 5 p.m. Eastern Time on June 21st, this nuclear-powered submarine had fired more than 24 land-attack Tomahawk cruise missiles at Iran, targeting key infrastructure at Isfahan. Only afterward did the fighter jets and B-2 Spirit stealth bombers sweep across the Iranian skies. This was the Ohio-class SSGN, a guided missile submarine specifically configured for long-range land attack missions and special operations support. Measuring 560 feet long, nearly 2 football fields, the Ohio-class submarine can dive deeper than 800 feet and travel faster than 25 knots. It is designed to launch up to 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles from 22 launch tubes. And this is what made the Tomahawk the perfect weapon for the mission. This highly accurate cruise missile can penetrate air defenses to strike targets with near-perfect precision from more than 1,000 miles away, and can receive in-flight retargeting commands instantly. General Kane confirmed. A U.S. submarine in the U.S. Central Command Area of Responsibility launched more than 24 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles against critical ground infrastructure at Isfahan. Isfahan, the third target of Operation Midnight Hammer. And unlike Fordow or Natanz, Isfahan did not require bunker busters. Despite hitting Natanz and Fordow with B-2s armed with MOPs, the United States did not use those platforms against Isfahan. Instead, the United States struck Isfahan solely with Tomahawk cruise missiles. Reason? The targets here were above-ground infrastructure. No need for 13,600-kilogram bombs to destroy them. 25 minutes. According to Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane, the U.S. military operation in Iran involved more than 125 aircraft, including 7 B-2 Spirit bombers, and employed roughly 75 precision-guided weapons, including 14 GBU-57 MOPs, all within a 25-minute window. But how did those 12 bombs hit the ventilation shafts with such precision? This is the tactical detail few news outlets have analyzed deeply enough. The 6 B-2s that struck Fordow first released 6 bombs into each of the 2 main ventilation shafts. The first bomb blasted away the concrete cap to expose the shaft, followed by 4 more that drove deep inside the facility. The 6th bomb served as a backup in case of any malfunction. The 7th B-2 dropped 2 additional MOPs onto the Natanz complex. According to General Kane, 4 of the 5 bombs that entered each shaft after the first had removed the protective cap were tasked as follows. The protective cap was forcibly removed by the first weapon, exposing the main shaft. Weapons 2, 3, 4, and 5 were assigned to enter the main shaft, travel down through the complex at more than 1,000 feet per second, and detonate inside the target space. 1,000 feet per second, faster than the speed of sound. Those bombs were boring into the heart of the mountain faster than their own sonic boom. But Operation Midnight Hammer was not just a story of raw power. It was also a story of strategic brilliance, the art of deceiving the enemy on a global scale. As part of the plan to preserve tactical surprise, one group of aircraft headed west and into the Pacific as a deliberate deception. A feint known only to a tiny handful of planners and top leaders in Washington and Tampa. The real strike package, 7 B-2 Spirits, each with 2 pilots, moved east in total silence with minimal communication. Just hours before the attack, 2 additional B-2s were sent west toward Guam to act as decoys. While the world was watching the fake formation, the 7 real B-2s quietly crossed the Atlantic. And there is one other little-known detail about the perfection of this campaign. Because tanker aircraft represent a vulnerable point in stealth operations due to their size and radar signature, the U.S. Air Force conducted a massive pre-positioning of approximately 30 tankers spread across Europe and the Azores in the days leading up to the mission. This ensured the B-2s could complete the long-range strike without compromising their stealth. Leading the bombers, the Air Force deployed a wave of fighter aircraft, including F-22 Raptors, F-35 Lightning IIs, F-15E Strike Eagles, and F-16 Fighting Falcons, into the Middle East. These aircraft flew ahead of the bomber package at high speed and altitude, sweeping the airspace to detect threats and suppress enemy air defenses. Using AGM-88 HARM and AGM-88 EAA-RGM missiles, these SEAD, suppression of enemy air defenses, aircraft targeted Iranian radars and surface-to-air missile systems. The fighter escort package led the strike group, firing approximately 30 munitions at Iranian surface-to-air missile systems. None of those systems engaged U.S. forces. Whether the Iranian systems had already been blinded by prior Israeli strikes, could not cope with stealth aircraft overhead, or simply chose not to fire remains unknown. Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane called this the largest B-2 operation in U.S. history and said it caused extremely severe damage and destruction to the targets. This was a highly classified mission with very few people in Washington knowing the timing or nature of the plan, he said at the Pentagon press briefing. You are watching a geopolitical and military analysis that most news channels only skim the surface of. We dig deeper into every technical specification, every strategic decision, every economic consequence. If you want to understand the world not through headlines, but through real data, hit subscribe right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next analysis. The question the entire world asked immediately after the night of June 22nd. How much damage did this campaign actually inflict on Iran's nuclear program? And this is where the story becomes more complicated, because there are 2 completely different assessments. Immediately after the strikes, at 10 p.m. on June 21st, President Donald Trump issued a statement calling the attacks a spectacular military success and emphasizing that Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely destroyed. CIA Director John Ratcliffe also confirmed, the CIA can state with high confidence that reliable intelligence shows Iran's nuclear program has suffered severe damage from the recent targeted airstrikes. Israel's Atomic Energy Commission assessed that the combined U.S. and Israeli efforts had set Iran's nuclear weapons development back by many years. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir remarked that the damage was enough to set it back many years. I repeat, many years. The New York Times reported separately that the strike on Fordow caused serious damage to the facility, but did not destroy it completely. To fully destroy the Fordow site would require successive waves of airstrikes over multiple days or even weeks, hitting the exact same point repeatedly. Pentagon Chief Spokesman Sean Parnell stated that the United States believes the strikes set their program back by 1 to 2 years. It is still unclear how much equipment and material Iran managed to remove from Fordow before the attack. Satellite images show trucks, apparently loading cargo outside the Fordow entrance just days before the strike. Iran claimed that nuclear material had been evacuated from both Fordow and Natanz and moved to other locations. The Iranians had attempted to cover the ventilation shafts at Fordow with concrete caps a few days before the attack. And this is exactly what experts at the Center for Strategic and International Studies and the Atlantic Council point out. While Iran's uranium enrichment capability has been severely degraded, the existence of already enriched 60% material means a major barrier to weaponization had already been crossed. Without operating enrichment facilities at Fordow and Natanz, Iran would, in theory, need new centrifuges, repairs to damaged ones, or enrichment at a secret facility to bring that 60% uranium up to weapons grade. But after all the technical numbers, after all the bomb and missile specifications, remember one thing. This conflict is not only about metal and explosives, it is about the future of 88 million Iranians. People who had no voice in the nuclear race their regime was pursuing. And it is about the world order. Whether the 21st century will be an era in which a theocratic regime can secretly develop atomic weapons without consequences. That is the question Operation Midnight Hammer has posed, and no one has fully answered it yet. Iran did not stay silent. They could not. On June 23, 2025, in retaliation for the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran launched 14 missiles at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, targeting U.S. forces. The attack caused no casualties and was followed by diplomatic efforts involving Qatar.